Jamal Khashoggi.
And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist.
Jamal Khashoggi spent years uncovering truths inside Saudi Arabia. He knew MBS was rising, he knew critics were being silenced, so he moved to the United States, writing openly for the Washington Post about the growing power of the Crown Prince. But the reach of power is long. On October 2, 2018, Jamal walked into the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul. Inside, a team of elite Saudi operatives, men tied directly to MBS, carried out a killing planned in advance. Jamal Khashoggi was born in 1958 in the holy city of Medina, into a well-known Saudi family closely connected to the kingdom's early history. He grew up around influence and tradition, studied in the United States, and returned home with a strong interest in journalism and public life. Jamal became a major voice in Saudi media. He worked for leading newspapers, reported from war zones across the Middle East, and even interviewed Osama bin Laden in the 1980s and 90s. These experiences made Jamal respected, connected, and trusted. Over time, Jamal's views evolved. He began writing openly about freedom, political rights, and the need for honest discussion inside Saudi Arabia. He believed his country could only grow stronger with more openness. Then Mohammed bin Salman rose to power. MBS pushed bold reforms but also carried out harsh crackdowns, arresting writers, activists, and anyone seen as a critic. In this new climate, Jamal's calls for accountability and debate became risky. His voice, once welcomed, was now viewed as a threat. Jamal Khashoggi mattered because he understood the Saudi system from the inside, and he had the courage to speak about it from the outside. As MBS rose to power, Saudi Arabia changed quickly, and so did the treatment of critical voices. Jamal Khashoggi's articles were blocked, his public talks stopped, and quiet warnings reached him through trusted friends. It was clear he was no longer safe to speak freely at home. In 2017, Jamal made the difficult decision to leave Saudi Arabia. He moved to the United States and began writing for the Washington Post, where he openly criticized the growing crackdowns under MBS. His words reached a global audience, and his influence grew stronger than ever. But exile didn't mean protection. Jamal faced online harassment from Saudi-linked accounts, reports of digital monitoring, and signs of possible spyware used against people around him. Even far from home, he felt the reach of the Saudi state closing in. In the middle of his busy life in exile, Jamal Khashoggi found something unexpected: love. He became engaged to Hatice Cengiz, a Turkish researcher he planned to marry. For the marriage to be official, Jamal needed one simple document from the Saudi authorities confirming his previous divorce, and that document could only be issued at the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul. On 28 September 2018, Jamal walked into the consulate for the first time. The staff told him the papers weren't ready and asked him to return on October 2nd. To Jamal, it felt routine. He had no reason to suspect danger. But while Jamal waited for the paperwork, something else was happening behind the scenes. A 15-man team arrived from Riyadh on private jets, men connected to Saudi security services, including a forensic doctor carrying tools normally used in body dissections. Turkish employees at the consulate were told not to come to work that day. Cameras inside the building were disabled, rooms were prepared, everything was set before Jamal even reached the door. On October 2, 2018, at 1:14 p.m., Jamal Khashoggi walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul for what he believed would be a short visit. Inside the building, Jamal was confronted by Saudi officers. According to investigations and intelligence reports, there was no discussion, no legal process, and no attempt to simply question him. The plan was already in motion. Evidence shows that Jamal was quickly overpowered. He was restrained, and investigators believe he was either strangled or suffocated with an injection meant to silence him. Within minutes, the journalist who had spent his life speaking the truth was dead. What happened next was even more disturbing. A forensic doctor from the team, brought specifically for this mission, took charge of removing all traces of the killing. The 15-man team worked inside the consulate for hours. Turkish investigators later reported that Jamal's remains were given to a local collaborator. To this day, his body has never been found, but the most damning evidence came from the intelligence recordings. Turkish officials had audio from inside the consulate, recordings that captured voices, movements, and conversations before and after the murder. These recordings showed that the killing was planned in advance, not an accident, not a fight, and not the interrogation gone wrong that Saudi officials later claimed. Every detail, the team, the timing, the equipment, the silence, pointed to a mission designed long before Jamal reached the door, a mission that ended the moment he walked inside. After Jamal Khashoggi disappeared, Saudi officials began releasing shifting explanations instead of answers. Their first claim was simple: he left the building safely, but there was no proof, and Turkish authorities quickly showed he never walked out. Then came story number 2. A fistfight went wrong. Saudi officials said an argument turned violent and Jamal died by accident. Again, the evidence didn't match. As pressure increased, Saudi Arabia finally admitted the killing was premeditated, but blamed it on rogue agents, insisting senior leaders knew nothing. Meanwhile, major gaps raised serious doubts. CCTV cameras removed, a Saudi decoy wearing Jamal's clothes to fake an exit, and top officials close to the crown prince untouched. Each new story only made one thing clear: the truth was being covered, not explained. After Jamal Khashoggi's murder, investigations around the world began uncovering what really happened. Turkey led the first probe. They opened a criminal case, revealed the arrival of the 15-man Saudi team, confirmed the timeline, and shared audio recordings from inside the consulate, all showing the killing was planned. The United Nations, through investigator Agnes Calamard, called the murder a state-sponsored execution and urged a deeper investigation into Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. In the United States, the CIA reviewed all intelligence and concluded with high confidence that MBS approved the operation. They pointed to the team's close ties to his personal security and the fact that a mission of this scale couldn't happen without top-level authorization. Saudi Arabia held its own trial, but it was secret, with names hidden. Only low-level agents were punished, while senior figures close to the Crown Prince faced no accountability. Every investigation pointed to the same truth: this was a coordinated operation, not an accident and not a rogue act. Jamal Khashoggi's murder triggered an international shockwave. Governments, media, and human rights groups condemned Saudi Arabia, and major global events tied to the kingdom were boycotted. The world suddenly faced a hard question: do human rights matter more than oil and political alliances? In the U.S., several Saudis were sanctioned under the new Khashoggi ban, but Washington still avoided punishing Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, keeping strategic ties intact. Saudi Arabia responded by reshaping its global image, launching mega projects, buying sports deals, hosting concerts, and promoting a modern, open identity to move attention away from the murder. Yet, Khashoggi's name did not disappear. He became a global symbol of press freedom, journalistic courage, and the dangers faced by critics of powerful states. For Mohammed bin Salman, the murder became part of his international reputation, even as he pushes major reforms, builds massive projects, and tries to modernize Saudi Arabia. The killing of Khashoggi remains a central question surrounding his leadership. Jamal Khashoggi's murder exposed the inner workings of Saudi power and put global attention on Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The event reshaped how the world views the kingdom, raised serious questions about leadership, and continues to influence international politics today. As this story ends, one question remains: what do you think this case tells us about MBS and the direction Saudi Arabia is heading? Share your thoughts in the comments. And while you are there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and thumbs up. It really helps us keep going, and I really appreciate all of you for tuning in.